Hello, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's me, Corey LeBlanc, ceremonial witch, blah, 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 blah. It's not my catchphrase. I hope it's not my catchphrase. But anyways, hey, what's going on? I put out a video yesterday. Podcast, YouTube, no. Well, they all go on my YouTube channel. But I put out a episode on Spreaker, which I guess would be my podcast, would be the best definition for what it is. So when I say episodes, that's what I'm referring to, is the episodes on Spreaker under Ceremonial Witchcraft, which I have some also on under another title called Magick on a Budget, which, if you look at Magick on the Budget, there is one titled on breathing techniques, exercises, Qigong, and a few other names, and that Qigong and Kunji is actually a book, and I've given that PDF before, and it might be in that episode on Magick on a Budget. However, in that episode on Magick on a Budget that I just named the title of, I actually play clips from that book and other books among it, talking about how to breathe right, because at that point I was trying to teach everybody, before I was getting into healing magic, I wanted to give people the basics of what to do, basically. High alkaline diet, how to breathe right, those two things you need to get down before you touch any kind of healing magic. And then I never really got into healing magic, to be honest, but because, if you're doing those things right, you don't really need healing magic for yourself. Basically, at that point, the only healing magic you're going to need is for somebody else. But what I'm talking about today is, or what I talked about yesterday, I guess, is I used that book. I put the PDF on for that book because it describes the Dantian. It's Dantian. It's the place below your navel that when you're doing the microcosmic orbit and moving your ki or chi, whatever you want to call it. There's 3 different types of energy that flow around through our bodies, and one of these kinds, the one we're using through the microcosmic orbit is the one that you could use to heal your body, energize yourself. You could turn that energy into stuff anything you want, basically. But anyways, within that book, it explains all this to you. So I put it on there, as well as the link to the original YouTube channel for that original meditation, and so on. And then I put the Peterson and Russell Brand clip on there just to kill time, I guess, like I always do, which I probably shouldn't do. But, at this point, I was asleep. Unfortunately, I was supposed to shut it off, but in case I fell asleep, because I was doing this at like 12 or 1 in the morning after work. So in case I fall asleep, I put enough stuff on there so that it doesn't give you dead air. And I'm supposed to shut it off now. New rule of thumb is, if I'm done talking and done playing all the essential stuff that has to do with what I'm talking about, then to just shut it off to save the time, to not add to my archives with a bunch of stuff that can be already found on YouTube. And, but in case I do fall asleep, being that I have 3 hours of time, which I may need to minimize, I may need to think about deleting all my archives, potentially maybe making a few episodes of all my episodes, all my essential stuff. I still have everything on file here, so I can always just delete it all, and if anybody really wants it, I can bring it back, or, bring it back somewhere else, or whatever the case is. But anyways, not even close to the point, but so, all that being said, for yesterday, last night I came home and I tried to get into, because I didn't get enough said about the difference between your identity and the fact that we're supposed to lose our identity, or realize that we are not our personification or our name and all that, and the benefits of losing it, but at the same time the benefits of healing it or having it. So I didn't really talk enough about it before, I felt like. So I tried to come on and just summarize really low while everybody was sleeping, very quietly. And I think I did a relatively okay job as far as I'm concerned. But if someone is not maybe far along of me, or just started watching this and is just beginning the initiation, they might not really understand what I was trying to get at. So I'm going to try to clarify that maybe simpler today. But first, to get back to the healing magic thing I was talking about in the healing part, just real fast, was because my last episode I talked about how, I was dehydrated, this, that, and the other thing. Not too long ago, when I used microcosmic orbit the day after to go into work and face my peers, and after doing that, all the small signs I had of dehydration still, because at this point I've already drinking a lot of water to rehydrate myself, and, whatever else was done at the hospital and all this stuff. So, but I was more anxious than anything for going into work that day, and hadn't gotten a tremendous amount of sleep. I got a tremendous amount of sleep the night before. Well, not the night before, but after being at the hospital and all this, when I came home, and then after the kids went to school and all that, I slept a lot at that point. So right before work, I had that feeling like I needed more sleep, just because that's what happens when you're on an overnight shift. You feel like you need to sleep right up at the time you have to go to work, or at least I do. And that had not happened. So I didn't go, I did the microcosmic orbit, and I felt fantastic, absolutely fucking amazing. And it's such a beautiful exercise, because every time I do it, I just finished doing one. Once again, I feel absolutely energized. I did one last night while I was sleeping. Just every time I do it, I feel phenomenal after. It's amazing, because I've never employed it like this. I've always just used middle pillar within my ritual, and I've never done it as a daily ritual to help myself get energy. That's what I use coffee for. But I find this is working for my mundane, everyday life better than, coffee would, which is, kind of weird, because coffee is something that's in the mundane, so you would use it for the mundane. But I'm starting to find out that things I do spiritually help my mind filter down into my mundane life and help me, go do my day-to-day, and vice versa. Things I do in my day-to-day help me, get lessons for my spiritual fucking, more things I see happen at work, or I see around me, or things that happen in the media, or whatever the case is. I see that, and, I start talking about it on here, and then I extract these lessons, and then I can implement them in my life. So everything seems to be going crisscrossing in the right direction, the right pattern right now, and, it's completely and utterly remarkable. So, yeah, I think it's awesome. But just to hit on that healing magic that I never really got into yet. And this is not really going to be healing magic per se, okay? But I want to just remind anybody who's listened to my stuff as of recently, the last, somewhere in the last 10 episodes, okay? I've been playing Greg Braden, the entire time that I've had this podcast, this channel, this Spreaker, podcast. I've always been playing Greg Braden here and there. He always tends to come about, and I always tend to have a new message, or I reiterate an old message, and then something new pops out of it. So in the most recent things I played with Greg Braden, he was with his two friends, Bruce Lipton and something Dispenenzo or something like that. I can't remember his name, and it's not nice to do that, because I've read a few of his books and they're absolutely outstanding. I love when doctors get spiritual. I absolutely love it. Scientists, doctors, anybody who you wouldn't expect to be on the spiritual side, to be on the science side, but it's those guys that really help. You really got to watch also though sometimes, because those guys could be the fakes. And there's nothing saying that, maybe these guys are fakes. Who knows? Maybe they're just trying to support something else. And, because they understand the mind and this and that. So, I'm never going to say they're 100% authentic. But for some reason with Greg, I never had that vibe whatsoever that he might be faking it. And I feel as if he's one of those people that I can actually trust to give me good, credible information. Not only that most of the things I've looked up, I'm not going to say I looked up everything. The things I don't look up, I won't reiterate to you. So understand that at the very minimum, if I'm going to tell you something that I've learned from somebody else, which is basically everything you learn comes from somebody else, but if I'm going to make a point to make an episode about something, it's something I'm going to have looked into, or something I've done on my own at least a few times and had success, or had no success, and whatever. But anyways, so when I was at the hospital, or that day with the dehydration, okay, because I was already late and I had not called in at this point, I was kind of waiting for a diagnosis to call in to kind of legitimify, make it legitimate that I was missing, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So and I was kind of like, well, what if they don't find anything wrong with me? Well, the cramps tell me blah, 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 blah. So anyways, going back to the Greg Braden thing, in the most recent video that I played of him, they were talking, or a few of them. Anyways, in the Divine Matrix, okay, I'll just go with that one. The Divine Matrix, he talks about how the sign, he's like, I know you guys stay up all night wondering why they can't find the smallest particle. The smallest particle in known to man. I know you stay up at night wondering about that. And obviously it's meant to be a joke. No one gives a fuck about that in spiritual circles, right? So, because of that, he makes that joke, and this is being translated into Italian, I want to say at this point, so many people don't get it right off. But anyways, I got it, I understood it, and he says, well, it kind of bugs me, because I am a scientist, he's a geologist or whatever, but he's like, and knowing what I know, now I'm paraphrasing, this isn't exactly what it says, but knowing what he knows, knowing what Greg Braden knows, okay? Because he's teaching you how to pray basically in these installments, in these videos. And, the way not to pray is, he makes the point of whenever you pray to ask God for rain, basically, you're never going to get rain that way. It's impossible for you to get rain whenever you ask God for rain, or ask whoever your deity is for rain. Okay, it doesn't matter. Your deity is actually subjective. And I'm not saying that because I'm an atheist, because I'm not. I believe in many gods, goddesses. I believe in our own power. I believe that there's a big energy field that is our creator. I also have this kind of belief in the Bible God, but more as an egregore. I believe that egregores can be just as real as gods. So I have many beliefs, and some of them actually are like in opposition with each other, more or less, is I guess the right way to say it, being that, I believe that the Bible God and, the other gods, because even the planetary bodies that are in our body, I believe, have been personified, made persons and all that, and, that actually gives them some kind of power, but once you do certain exercises, like I told everybody, when you hit the first elemental grade and you start doing the lesser banishing of the hexagram, you reduce Saturn's effect on you, which in turn reduces all the planets' effect on you, and by doing that, you are able to you are able to remove some of your karma. It helps you be a little bit younger because Saturn is time and all this. So, like I guess what I was trying to say was just because of the fact that I have these opposing. This is why I think that even though I believe I give daily offerings to the planetary god of the day, basically Monday would be Moon, it was yesterday Tuesday, which is today would be Mars Day, right? So because even though I do that, I also understand that those are personified in some way in our head, okay? To, if people actually start believing in them, to believe in them as a god. Whether that's done on purpose to, always have some kind of hierarchy of male or female figures we have to look up to as like a judge, I don't know. Or if it's just done by accident, or it's just the way people are, I don't know. But as much as, I believe that, I believe there's power in asking these beings for things and getting them, I also know that it's also it all happens within our mind. So whether you believe in these beings or different beings, whether you're from one tradition or another, everybody can get the same results. You can actually use a Star Trek deity and probably get the same results as you could by using the Bible God, okay? Is kind of what I'm trying to get at here. So as much as I have my beliefs and I know what I know, and I don't know other things like that, like how can you ever know who's the real God, if there's a real God, what God is the real God out of the fucking multitude? We have just as many deities as we have Christian denominations, you know what I mean? So how the fuck do you pick one, right? And it's the same concept. Just like someone who was in New Age in the Truth Movement, and when they become all righteous and, I know the way, guys, come on, why isn't everybody doing this shit? It's so plain to see, blah, 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 blah. And they start going around preaching. Well, how is that any fucking different than a born-again Christian or Jehovah's Witness going door to door trying to recruit people and then passing fucking judgment on the people when they decide to not join? You know what I mean? It's the same fucking thing. So that's the goal, is to not become like that. It's to understand what I understand, to know what I know, and to not become judgmental and think I'm above anybody just because I know it. And that's the point of me going on here, because every time I come on here, I sort things out and I learn things, so it's beneficial to me, but in the same sense, and at the same time, I'm learning the shit as much as I'm teaching it, and it helps me not become above people. It helps me not go around judging people, because I'm putting it out there for the people that can find it, that are willing to find it. Maybe I don't have too many people listening to me, and by the way, I'm thankful for anybody and everybody who does listen to this, and the fact that I don't have a lot of people. And I mean, a lot is subjective. Like, to me, what I have right now, the amount of downloads I have, I mean, it's like I'm almost at 4,000 downloads. Like, and that's in total. And, I think I started in July, right? So it'll be about, I think at the end of this month, it'll be 6 months. So to have 4,000 downloads but in December, you know what I mean? In 6 months, to me, that's outstanding. To me, that is a lot. But if you compare me to someone who's a little bit more popular, or a more popular channel, then yeah, I don't have a lot according to those standards. But to my standards, I have quite a bit, and that's kind of the trick of the game. And the trick of the game is to figure out where you can be happy with what you got. And then when you're happy with what you got, then you get more to be happy for. Over and over again, it just keeps increasing. But whenever you have a little bit and you're not happy for it, well, then you're going to keep getting less, because that's what you're telling what you wanted. And this comes back to the thing I'm talking about with Greg Braden. This is what he's telling you. He's telling you that when you pray and you ask for something that isn't there, you're going to get more of what isn't there. Therefore, the scientists looking for the smallest particle in the world, okay? That smallest particle that, every time they break up the particle, like the famous story, I'm going all over the place, and I fucking try my hardest to not do this, but it's like something I can't even help. It's part of my design. Maybe I'm not meant to speak publicly or have a podcast, but anyways, it is what it is, and if you don't like it, well, there's many other podcasts to choose from, I guess. But once again, I am thankful for everybody who listens to my shit. But anyways, so the very act of the scientists looking for something smaller, they're always going to get something smaller. The very fact that people pray because they have no rain. They're visualizing their situation, no rain and all that, and they're going to get more of no rain. You know what I mean? They're going to get no more rain. Their prayers are being answered. They're asking for rain because they don't have any, so they're going to keep getting no rain. You know what I mean? It's like your kid who's getting attention from you, but it's negative attention. When the kid isn't getting attention from you when they do something good, or when they're just so and nothing bad happens, let's just say your kid doesn't get any attention from you, okay? And then all of a sudden it does something bad, and then boom, you take time out of your busy life to punish that kid, and make sure it does its chores and whatever. And then okay, so a couple weeks go by, it doesn't get in trouble, you tell it good job in passing, but you're busy off doing whatever because this is what your kid's supposed to do, and then all of a sudden it gets in trouble again. And then you take time of your busy schedule again to maybe pick it up at school this time because the trouble was worse, and you take a day off because it got suspended. So as much as you're happy to have the day off, you're very upset with your child, so you're yelling at it, and it's giving this time with you, which is positive, but it happened through a negative way. So, well, what do you think happens? Well, this is what psychiatrists will tell you. They're doing it because this is the only time they see you. It's this negative action they're doing is giving them positive results, something they want, something they can't tell you, because you're just going to say, I know, I wish I could spend more time with you, but I got to work. This is how it is, blah, 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 blah. They know if they do that, that's the answer they're going to get. Nothing else is going to change. So, therefore, this is what they do, and it might not even be them. It could be something subconsciously happening, just because they know that if they're bad, this will happen. So it helps them justify their bad action, because, okay, maybe I'll get away with it, and even if I don't get away with it, well, I'll get time with mom or dad because they'll have to come get me, and, bad time is better than no time, so let's do it. It's the same kind of concept. No, I forgot what the initial concept was, but I'm guessing it's there, and you guys understand what I was trying to get at. But anyway, so that asking for rain or trying to find that smallest fucking particle is, you're always going to have something to find. Just like when they did the experiment of, watching the particle. And they had one particle, and they gave it one hole, and the particle went through the hole. All is good. And then one particle, and they put two holes. And then something happened. The particle split in half on its own, like it had a consciousness, and went through both holes, and then went back together simultaneously. And you can look this up. This is out there for everybody to see. This is actually a very old science experiment. And even when it was redone in the 90s. So even that is old. When I'm talking old, I'm talking like 19-something, like 1930s or 1900s. I don't really remember. But this is an old experiment that no one knows about. But when observing the particle, the common denominator of how the particle acted was how many people were observing it. Because the more minds they got involved watching the particle, the more the particle acted differently in ways they couldn't predict. And only because the people predicting what the particle could do weren't the ones part of the equation. They had multiple people watching it, or whatever the case was. Therefore, the more they try to see what this particle will do, the more it depends on whoever's mind's involved. But anyways, back to the no rain thing, just to keep it simple, and back to the praying for rain, basically, all right, or trying to find the smallest particle. By trying to find that smallest particle, this great universe that we have always wants to give us what we want. And if you don't know that, then it's a bitch, because then you think it's an unjust world, and you start complaining because that's how you were, that's how you were born, that's how you were trained, you witnessed as a child all these people around you complaining about their shitty circumstances, blah, 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 blah. So then that's how you end up being. So technically it's not your fault. But at a certain point, you gotta kind of like, okay, well, there's gotta be more to life than just complaining and being addicted to my own fucking sorrow and my own negative emotion and my own fucking pity parties. Like, there's gotta be something more to this. And maybe that's easy for me to say because I've had a lot of pity parties and they didn't serve me, and I realized that. And I realized the days when I wasn't in a pity party, or the days that I was able to change my pity party around and say, you know what, I'm not gonna stand for this today. I'm gonna do this instead. And actually, it was able to change the circumstances and change my life around. This is not even what magic. This is just like me changing my mindset. And you can argue and say, well, that is magic. Well, you're damn right it is magic. Everything is fucking magic. Everything we do is magic. But the point I'm trying to get at is, when I was at the hospital, I was hoping for something to be wrong with me, so I would have a way to legitimize my being late and calling in late and all this, right? So when you take that, and, obviously there was something there, which I kind of pre-understood or pre-thought, but, who knows? I can get into, how my subconscious mind created that circumstance for me, but most likely it was just me not drinking enough water. But point is, if you put that into prospect with what I said about, people praying for rain and asking God for more rain because they don't have rain, you know what I mean? Or the scientists trying to find the smallest particle, smashing those particles together to try to make black holes and shit like that now. But them continuously cutting the particle, getting to half the particle, cut the atom in half. Okay, well, let's cut those pieces in half and cut those pieces in half. And when is it ever going to be the smallest piece? We just want to find the smallest piece so we can stop looking. And they're never going to be able to find it. Well, you put that into prospect, or you put that in perspective with someone who is, what is it called, a paraplegic? No, not a paraplegic. Fuck, that's not the word. Well, one of those people that are, my father-in-law's one. I know the name. Someone who, goes to the doctor always thinking something's wrong with them, right? The first few times, if they really don't think there's something wrong with them, then, they might be fine. But let's say, because if you go on Google and you fucking look up your symptoms, you can get everything from fucking cancer, leukemia, AIDS, to like a fucking Lyme disease from a tick, man, for like this broad array of symptoms, you know what I mean? And it could turn out to be nothing, or just like a virus or an infection. Point is, you could scare yourself silly and sick and going into the hospital trying to find something wrong with you. And in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, and I don't want to tell people, if you think there's something wrong and you're sore or sick, or you're having issues and it's the same issue, you've collected data and it's like, okay, well, once a week I'm having these pains, and then it's after I eat a big meal, or, after I do this, or, what I mean? Then yeah, okay, go tell a doctor that. But if you're just going into the doctor hoping to be sick, possibly to maybe make up for, your shitty life, or the fact that you haven't moved on, or whatever the case is, I don't really know. But I guess all I'm trying to say is, I had this epiphany when I was at the hospital, and I realized that going in there to get a note for my job, hoping there's something wrong with me to justify me not being there, was absolutely ridiculous and something I should never do. Because if I do that, if I seriously do that too often, I might create something. Okay, and then after, the Juice World thing, the guy writing down he's not going to live past 21, and then not living past 21, dying at 21 from a seizure, which I think the stat is something like 1 in 1,000 people from epilepsy die every year during a seizure. 1 in 1,000 people. That's not much, man. That's not much. And you would think that's probably like the older people with epilepsy that probably can't bounce back as far. Not a 21-year-old healthy kid who just got a $3 million deal. He said he ate like shit. He eats trash, but everything else he was pretty healthy with. He liked to work out. He liked to, do energy work, blah, 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 blah. Point is, someone who's 21 who dies of a seizure is someone at 21 who has a seizure is probably not going to be that statistic, but who knows? It can happen to anybody, I guess. And so I just wanted to bring that up, because I said yesterday there's not many people that die of seizures. I wanted to make sure I checked the stats to know if I was accurate or not when I said that. And, I guess my accuracy is... Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because yesterday, I talked a bit about the fact that, he said he wouldn't live past 21. And, as much as it's very sad, especially for family and the fans and anybody, who really enjoyed his music or knew him personally, to lose someone that young, and a seizure is the thing that did it. The last thing I want to do is sound insensitive and being like, really a seizure? That's not what I'm trying to put off at all. But I just want to emphasize the power of our thought, our word, what we write, what we say, what we do, our actions that follow suit with, what we say and how we feel. It's powerful shit. We have this power. We have it's amazing the things we can do, and it's amazing the things that can perceivably be done to us or we can do to ourselves. And you don't want that. You don't want to hurt yourself or hurt anybody else with your own power. I just wanted to really nail that point down, and the fact that I went into the hospital trying to find something wrong with me, and then okay, thank the gods and goddesses that it was exactly what I thought it was going to be, which was the fact that I didn't have enough water in my system and not enough sleep. So thank God for that. But all that being said, if someone else who doesn't have occult knowledge is continuously having some issues, let's say, and it could be anything, because if most people don't know about anything that we are looking into whatever you want to call this, new age, occult, fucking witchcraft, spirituality. And that's the thing, like, a lot of this shit we classify as new age and occult, but truth be fucking told, that there's nothing new about most of this stuff. All these theories and things that I'm talking about, like the microcosmic orbit's been around a long enough time, you know what I mean? And all the Taoist traditions and Buddhism traditions that we take from there's a lot, witchcraft, spirituality, magic itself, Solomon's work, it's been around forever. There's nothing new about this shit. It's just that we've been oversaturated with one way of thinking for so long that when we find something else that has roots in our history that's been suppressed, it's like, well, everybody thinks it's a big conspiracy to hold us down for whatever reason, because it's probably really the way. When the truth really is that, okay, it is the way, and yeah, okay, you can get what you want this way, but it's not fucking easy. You got to put time into it. Not only that, but when you learn and understand what your mind can do, and you try to learn how to use it, well, it can also be used against you. You can also do more harm to yourself. And that's the last thing you want to do. So I just wanted to put that in perspective, that, because I was talking about the healing magic at the beginning, and it reminded me of, when I went to the hospital and I had this thought of, what if 50% of the people that went to the fucking hospital actually didn't need to go there? You know what I mean? Think about those people that miss work every once or twice every month and have to go to the hospital to get a doctor's note, right? So at work, they're playing this part of, there's something wrong with them. They keep going to the doctor, but they can't find anything wrong with them, blah, 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 right? And every time they go to the doctor, they give a different excuse, and they tell them to look at a different area, whatnot. So Oh, that was terrible. Sorry, I'm driving my car holding my phone. I'm recording. I'm not looking at it, but it probably looked bad when I almost hit that car. Jesus, I gotta stop doing this. Someone's gonna call on me. They're gonna hear me over there and be like, hey, this guy's a danger to society. Get him off the road. Tell him not to record while he's driving. But anyways, so yeah, he's, sorry. But yeah, so the person going to work over and over and over again, you know, telling their boss, giving them a sob story so they don't lose their job about how there's something wrong with them, but they can't figure it out, giving them all these excuses, maybe using some truth stories that something happened to them back when, and giving them with some lies, you know, doing something similar, maybe even making up stuff to try to justify it. But, you know, understand that, you know, if I'm not, and I don't want to say that that's just why Juice WRLD died, but let's just say that everybody who passed away everybody who passed away that quote unquote alright, everybody that passed away, quote unquote, that predicted their own death, okay? Let's just say they had that had something to do with it. Maybe it's not the discerning factor, because I like to believe that, you know, even though you say something or write something like that down, that there is still time to counter it. There is still time to change that. And it's not, because everything is a potential, right? Now, if you say something over and over again, or you put something in a song that, you know, it's out there forever and people are listening to it, well, depending if it's in the past or, I don't really know. This is uncharted territory. I know that you can write things down and they will come true. Like, by this day, I'm so grateful that as of, you know, March 2020, I have $10,000 saved up in the bank. I will be harm-free, so to be. You could write that down, and there's a good chance that you might not get the whole 10 grand, but by then you might be on your way to, you might have 5 grand in the bank, or you might have the whole 10 grand in the bank. You know, in my experience, just writing things down, you get about half the results. Now, if you add that with a fucking tape recorder and you sigilize your intent on a fucking candle a couple times, a couple full moons, every full moon prior to that date or something like that, then yeah, you're more likely to have that amount there, as long as your actions are following suit and you're keeping it off your mind when you're not doing your spells and shit like that. Point is, I know that has an effect. So, you know, you take that into account, that, you know, everybody who's ever said that predicted their own death, you know, has come true. And I'm sure there's lots of people out there that have written songs predicting their death at a certain age and they haven't come true. You know, I'm sure that's a possibility too. And that could be, you know, in the moment, whether they put emotion into it, whatever the case is. Like I said, I don't want to make this about that poor 21-year-old man who just passed away and his poor family. So I don't want to be like that. But I want everybody to understand that this is something you don't want to do. Going to the hospital over and over again and pretending there's something wrong with you just to get out of working or whatever the case is. You're better off to fucking try to find a better job or something that, you know, at least for the meantime, you can do that you don't hate until you find your passion or whatever the case is. And, you know, put aside all the stigmas and what other people might think. And that's hard. I'm not going to pretend that's not hard. That's probably the hardest part. You know, a lot of people might want to work at Tim Hortons, or might want to work at McDonald's, or might want to do these jobs that other people think are demeaning. They think it's better off to be in a fucking warehouse somewhere, losing your soul that way. And, you know, if you rather be around people and serving and seeing kids and being, you know, then you're better off there. Fuck what everybody thinks, than to fucking be in a fucking warehouse somewhere around a bunch of people that are miserable because they're not doing what they want to do. They don't see the outside world, so they're trapped in this little fucking bubble of, you know, all these people that have been there too long and have no aspirations in life, and the only fun they get is, you know, ratting on each other. You know, that's a toxic environment. So if that's what you're in, if you're in that environment and you have to miss that often, that you're going to the hospital to fucking get notes and shit like that, well, I want you to be aware of what you could be potentially doing by, you know, making up stories, whether they're true or not, but by making up stories to tell your boss, and by making up them stories and, you know, telling your boss and telling the doctor, you know, the doctor's got a lot on their plate, so the odds of them, I mean, unless it's like your family doctor over and over again, or, you know, the same doctor or whatever, you got a pretty safe gamble if you're seeing a different doctor every time, with the amount of people they see at the clinics that, you know, their mind won't play too much of a part in it, and they probably, you know, see enough people to know generally which ones may be being honest, which ones maybe not being honest. That's why, for the most part, if not anytime recent, because I haven't been doing it, but towards the end of my Matrix job, anytime I went in because I thought I needed, I missed work because of this, and I need a doctor's note. And, the nurses didn't really like it, and or the doctors, because, it is kind of just a waste of time, a waste of their time. They got a lot of other patients that have legitimate problems, and for me just to go there to bug them for a note because, but anytime they've ever said anything and be like, hey, I wouldn't want to be here, just my job has telling me I need a note to come back, and, half the reasons because they don't think I'm going to go there, or because there's nothing wrong with me, and whatever the case may be. But anyways, but you're better off just to do that or tell the truth, at the very least, or at least leave it open-ended, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with me. I have had this wrong, but basically I ran maybe a fever last night, and, maybe it's just a 24-hour bug, and now it's gone, but because of that, I missed work, so I need a note, something like that. You don't want to, because I'm telling you, between, what I know about being able to write your shit down and make it come true, I've got multiple friends doing it now. There's multiple people online telling you to do it. There's comic book people. There's doctors. There's scientists. There's a whole variety array of people. Birch tells you to keep good notes, write the shit down in your book, and you slam it shut and you don't look at it. That's a symbol to your mind, telling your mind that, you're not going to look at this for a while. But basically your subconscious works on it, and then, you go back to the book and see if it happened or not. But yeah, by slamming your book and doing it in your face there like that, it's so, you tell your subconscious that you're not going to look at this for, 3 months. But in actuality, well, not in actuality, because that's the way he teaches his course. And, I never taken the course to know exactly. But I know that writing something down, whether you write on it and you lay down on that book, it's a good way to get in your mind. Seriously, just like literally laying on the book. Laying down on the book that you've written, what you want to happen. Leaving it open in front of your altar, especially when you got a candle lit or you got some programmed water there. Leaving it on top of your programmed water, although I take Frater's advice when it comes to the water. When you program water, don't make it too complicated. With a marker, write, like a magic marker, Magick, Sharpie, Magick, whatever we're doing, Magic, right? So use a magic marker. Or you can just, you could put a fucking piece of tape around it and write so the inside sees it, okay? I don't think that matters too much, but that's how I do it. I do it like in reverse. I would write on the sticky part and then push it onto the glass. Or I've tried this before, but it tends to come off after a while and be in the water, which I don't think is an issue either, because then, the words go into the water itself. But I've done it on the inside, the tape, and then wrote it on the sticky part, or not the sticky part, sorry, and then filled it up with the water. But generally now when I do it, I program my water first, and then I add what I want to it. But anyways, that's besides the point. But what I'm trying to say is, writing anything in any book, whether you leave it open on your altar, whether you sleep on it, whether you just put it away for a few months, doing all of the above, recording it on a recording device, listening to it, all these things will bring things into manifestation. The more you focus your energy on it, the more it could happen. So what I mean by that is if you're now a magical practitioner and you're going into the doctor's office and saying these things, okay, there's a good chance you're not going to harm yourself, okay? Because you know the difference between real and fake, and I guess it would all come down to whether you're putting emotion into it or not when you're telling the doctor your lies. But once again, if you're a magical practitioner, the less you lie, the better you'll be able to bring things into existence, because the more a person lies, the shittier you're able to speak to the universe and bring things into truth. Because of everything you tell other people, which are part of this universe, which, is the universe, which are you. You're lying to somebody else, but really you're lying to yourself. That's kind of where that saying comes in, or that's what I think anyways, where that saying comes from, because and you start lying to everybody, from your house, your family, your cats, your kids, everybody, okay? If everybody you tell who's, a part of you, who, your subconscious mind is connected to, knows you're lying on some level. You ever talk to somebody and you just know they're lying? Well, that's how, okay? That shit happens. So the more you lie, the harder it's going to be for you to talk things into existence. not only that, I mean, you don't even trust yourself when you lie so much. You know you have to make a change and all that. And, some of those things are hard to beat, but you can beat it. You just start off small, You stay going forward, I'm not going to lie to any new people that come into my life. And, going forward, anybody who I've told grandiose lies to, I'm either going to make an attempt to apologize, change it, or, somehow make up another lie that destroys that lie so you can bring it back to normal. That seems more complicated than it's worth, but I'm not in that position. But I have been before. I'm not going to lie. I used, when I got out of, I spent all that time big shot in the bars, and then when I lost it all, and then, I lost because at the time, the girl I was with, she ended up leaving me while I was in jail, so I came out with nothing, and I was trying to meet girls, and a lot of these girls knew I had a reputation and had money and all this, so, for the first little bit, I kept lying to these women, telling them, yeah, I got money in the bank, I wasn't just stupid and spent it all, which was the truth, which was the case. I told them I had money in the bank and all this, which, cares, bank or not. They didn't give two shits about me having money in the bank or not. They really didn't. They really absolutely didn't give a shit if I had money in the bank or not. They just wanted to spend time with me and all that. And, on some level, they kind of knew it. Because the one girl, she found out I was doing weekends. And I was telling her I was going to Ottawa for business. And there's some bullshit. But, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to prove the point or make the point that, people kind of know on a level when you're lying. So if you do yourself a favor and you don't, it's going to help your relationships with other people and, all the sorts. But anyways, but not only, and more important than that, shut up. Sorry about this. More importantly than that, when you read, there's a thin line between lying and the truth, and the more you say you have something, it could be considered it'd be like an affirmation, and you could bring it into existence, or you really go into that office because you think your job is on the line, and you really sell the fact that you're sick and the doctors can't find out what's wrong with you. Well, then you might actually bring that into existence. And I'm telling you right now, it's something you don't want to do. With everything we know, we recently saw with this guy, this rapper, who recently, So yeah, the only thing I want to keep stressing, I keep saying the same thing over and over again, so I'm going to stop saying it because, it's even getting sickening to me. But I just want to stress that, if you're telling these lies, or you're telling these circumstances, situations to, holy shit, that's creepy. Sorry, I have this 432 cognitive enhancement fucking music on in the background, and some bearded dude with blue eyes smoking a pipe. I don't know, it was kind of creepy. But anyways, not about the dude with the pipe. So yeah, I'm not going to beat this over with a stick. I'm supposed to be talking about the difference between self or losing the self and keeping the self, or your identity and all that. So I'm running out of time now because I have to go to work a bit earlier, because every Tuesday we have what's called a toolbox, and it's just to go over something important with whatever crew is on days and afternoons, and then you get a double dose whenever you're on nights the previous week. So, but anyways, the biggest thing, and I'll try to keep it simple, what I was trying to get at last night, and I'm sorry for the sniffles, it probably sounds like I snort stuff, and like I said before, I only breathe through my nose, and something I had to carefully train myself to do, because from time to time, obviously I'm still going to mouth breathe from, obviously you can't not breathe through your mouth whatsoever, and whenever winter time comes here in Canada, it's even harder to only breathe through your mouth, being that we get nose infections from the cold and all that. As much as they say cold and hot temperatures can't cause viruses and sickness and all that, it can most definitely cause runny noses and stuff. You go out in the cold and you got this hot liquid in your nose like mucus, and it starts making it run because of the condensation, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, enough about that gross topic. But anyways, so back to the subject. The self, the identifying the self. I want to say the nature of the game, the point of the game, the trick of the fucking game, okay? When it comes to identifying your identity and or losing your identity, or repairing, fixing yourself, your identity. The important part to know is you need the balance, okay? If people in the music industry have a healthy balance, if they're able, I think you see more artists more, and I could be wrong, so it's not a stat I checked or anything, and this could go by how many artists there are versus how many movie stars there are, and, it could be more low-level movie stars we don't hear about or know about, so, this is not something I'm going to say for sure, but I know, recently, or not recently, but it was probably, 5 years now, maybe more, that Robin Williams passed away. And every so often we hear about a famous movie star who, is really talented and who's got definitely a lot going for them, taking their own life, suicide or whatnot. And you'll hear about more, you hear about suicide and overdoses and stuff like that more often with music artists than movie stars. And I want to say, because the movie star, the nature of their art, the nature of their game, they are taking on different personifications in movies. They have that healthy separation, right? They play a part in a movie, they learn that part well, they take on that part. You've heard the stories about people like, Linda Blair, who played in The Exorcist, or Silence of the Lambs, or I think it was The Exorcist, Linda Blair. And, after that part, she was pretty shucking up because she had to play the part of, I think that they weren't saying demon. I'm pretty sure it was like the devil who taking over that body was what they were trying to project in that movie. So, all that could have been publicity stunt for, the religious campaign to get people to fear the devil even more and fear possession. But point is, you hear stories about characters getting too into their roles, getting too into what they're supposed to be doing, what they're portraying on the screen, that, it can fuck with them sometimes or whatever. But they normally almost always shake it off. Not always. You hear people getting typecast, right? They play a role so damn good, so natural, that people like so much that's the only role they can play after that. And not that they can't play something else. It's just when people think of that person, they think of that, when it comes to a guy, let's say, for example, they think of that macho role they played in so well. So when it comes to between an artist and a movie star, where is your artist, okay? To me, they are still playing a role, okay? The music star, the musician, is putting on a personification, because the person that you're hearing those lyrics come from in the video, okay? The person who's rapping and saying their piece, okay? The majority of the time, especially when it comes, and I don't want to talk about all genres, but I know with rap for certain, okay? There's a lot that is fuck, God, I can't think of any important words today. That is fucking exaggerated, okay? There's a lot that is exaggerated, okay? So I'm not saying all the rappers that talk about killing people and shooting people and being in the hood, I'm not saying all that's fake. Most certainly not, I tried to listen to only rappers that I thought were real back when I was listening to it, because I thought I was in a game, or the game, or at least a game. Obviously it was a cigarette and drug or cocaine game that I was in, but and a little bit of the pill game there, the opiate game, but not that I'm proud of any of that. But so I tried to listen to people likewise in games similar, I guess is the best way to put it. I'm not trying to sound gangster, because clearly that's not who I am. I can't fucking sound fucking G if I wanted to. But point is, I tried to listen to the most realist guys, or who I thought were the realist guys. You know what I mean? Who put on the best persona of that. Who talked about the game the most, or who said things that I related to. You know what I mean? Because there's a difference between some guy just talking about dealing, and then some guy who actually says or raps about a circumstance that's similar to something that I went through. And those guys are the ones like, oh, okay, he knows what he's talking about because I know what he's talking about there, kind of thing. So, but that being said, these artists, these singers, these rappers, they put on personifications. But their job isn't to take on different personifications. They're not getting paid to put on their personification. I mean, in a manner of speaking, they are. Because the more kids that like that personification, that identify with that personification, or adults or whoever, right? The more people that enjoy that personification from that person, whether it's the drug dealer or it's the unpopular girl, like Taylor Swift when she first came out. She played the part of the girl who never gets the guy, right? A lot of her songs there were about being best friends with a guy and she loves this guy and he's with another girl kind of thing. So, they put on these personas that people relate to. But if they don't take that persona off or switch it up later on and stop playing that part, it can take hold, okay? And I think this is why you see more artists either committing suicide or dying at a young age than you would, say, actors, because actors, part of their job is to accept roles, parts, personifications in movies and, change it. And basically life is that. Life is knowing that we are a personification. We are a mask in this reality, okay? We were given a personification at birth, okay? And you can choose to keep that one or change it or make it whatever you want. Okay, you can go change your name. You can change states, cities, countries, whatever. Okay, you don't have to stay where you are right now. You can get up and move and go wherever the fuck you want. It don't matter. But you have that choice. But what you don't have a choice in, at least unless you're going to, like I said, become a monk and go live somewhere else and pray and work on enlightenment 24/7 and have that opportunity to actually do that. Be able to do that, because to be able to do that, you have to have the silence. You have to have, you have to be able to get away from it all, basically, to do that. So there is that option. So I don't want to pretend like there's not, but just in our society in this day and age, there's less options to do that. In our regular day-to-day life, either a monk or a movie star is your best bet to be able to have that solitude, okay? And I say a movie star because a movie star, in between roles that they pick in the movies, they can arguably have this free time. If, let's say if they make up enough in the movie and they don't spend it squanderly or whatever, they don't have an expensive lifestyle, and they're not trying to play a persona in the media and make it look like there's something they're not. If they have that money and they have that financial freedom, then between roles, they can actually work on their spirituality probably in peace and quiet and then go back and forth. But that's not how much of a life if you want family and kids and all that. It all depends on what you want out of life. So if you want the families and kids and all that, well, how are you going to raise kids whenever you don't have a personification? So I guess the point I'm trying to say is you need to realize that just like the movie star picks roles in movies and picks their personification they want to do, or sometimes they get picked for certain roles, whatever the case is. That's what we're doing in this life. That's like a big metaphor for our entire life, and you can look at every incarnation that we do is a different personification that we are choosing, and that's the way some people actually look at it. They say, you chose to come into this life at this time, blah 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 blah. So that's the way most people do describe our reality, our existence, is that, we are the personifications that we choose basically coming into this. That's an Eastern way of looking at it, and, we've adopted it here in the West. But, and I mean, there's a lot of different Eastern traditions that also say exactly what I just said, that, that we are all the personifications, and our body in this reality is just, whatever we chose to come in and do at this time, basically, that we are personification, and that this is the theater to life, and, that's where the theater was, not derived from, but anyways, I'm talking about stuff I don't know, but it's all to make the point that you need both, and this is what I was trying to stress last night by saying it's a healthy balance to be able to take your mask off, okay, from time to time. To be able to take your mask off for your ritual work. And to be able to put it back on whenever you need, to have it on. You need to have the healthy balance. You need to be able to go between both worlds at any time, any place, anywhere, basically. It's healthy, even, to be able to do that. To understand that you're not your personification and you are your personification at the same time. Because your identity, okay, whatever you want to call it, the conscious mind, the ego mind, whatever, okay? It has a job. It has its purpose. It has a meaning and a reason for being you and being a part of you, okay? There's a reason why you are whoever you are. There's a reason I am Corey LeBlanc and was born to my family, and everything that came along with that, all the bad times and the good times that came along with me being Corey LeBlanc. There's a reason for all those things happening, okay? And for me to just disidentify with that, because now I'm into the occult and spirituality and all that, would be foolhardy all by itself. Okay? But at the same time, for me to only think I am my identity and that I'm not more, that I don't have a divine spark in me, that I don't have this other part of me that is vastly more powerful, that I don't have this other part of me that is connected to everything, to more than just not think I have that, but to ignore it completely and, not do anything with it and not try to get in touch with it, is also imbalance and foolhardy, because you need to find that balance. You need to realize that you are two, all right? There's male and there's female, and there's positive and there's negative, and you are the combination of all that. And when you combine all those things, right, you get that star. What is the star, right? It's the man. It's the, what's it called? It starts with a V. It's Leonardo da Vinci's fucking famous painting, but it's the Venusian man, or whatever it's called. But anyways, so all those things are man, right? You have positive, negative, male, female, and spirit. Those are all the things that make you up. So, but when it comes to your mind, you have your conscious mind and your unconscious mind. You also have your divine feminine and your divine masculine. This is all within your body, okay? So if you want to think both your minds have both of those, right? Whether your conscious mind is your male and it's your positive, and your unconscious mind is your female and it's your negative aspects of you, then that's fine. But then you need to understand that there's this other part that is your soul, that is you, okay? And the way to get in touch with that is to connect both of those. So you're never going to ever hear me say that you have to get rid of your identity, or you have to only focus on your identity. Because to me, the whole twin flame thing, and like I said before, it makes sense to me that the twin flame thing is also two people coming together, people that are meant to be together, blah, 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 blah. That makes sense to me because everything kind of happens in twos, right? And there's always an as above, so below to everything. But to me, the first twin flame anybody and everybody needs to focus on before they try to go find their better half is connecting the twin flame inside of you, connecting your left mind with your right mind. For me, it's connecting my identity that's been attached to Corey LeBlanc, that's been attached to my, what it would be, the right side of my mind controls the left, so the left side of my mind controls the right. So whatever that works out to be, I'm pretty sure that means it would be my left brain is my conscious mind, and then my right side of my brain is my subconscious mind. But that might be reversed, so don't quote me on that part. But point is, I need to connect both those. And when I connect both those, there's a being that emerges from there, okay? And that is the being that you need to focus on more than anything. But not only, I guess, I'm kind of talking in circles. I guess that's not the being you need to focus on more than anything, but that's kind of the goal, is you need to connect those two. And when you connect those two, then you become more whole, because you need to focus on your divine masculine and you need to focus on your divine feminine. Now this is the same for both guys and girls. And to only focus on the feminine and not the masculine is imbalance. And the opposite is the truth as well. Just like focusing on only positivity being the only good in the world and anything negative is bad and has to be shunned, that's also imbalance. You have to understand that everybody's negativity or bad isn't the same, and sometimes a little bit of bad can actually be good to get change. Sometimes bad things have to happen to bring on change, and those bad things are technically something that brought on something beautiful and good. Therefore, we never had a grand scale war like we did in World War II. Therefore, all those terrible things that happened during that time, I'm not saying they're justified, but I'm saying we inoculated ourselves from ever having that happen again. But anyways, so for me, the personification, the losing the identity is important for finding your other half, is to connecting your twin flame within whatever, your two minds. We're making a caduceus going up, okay? That's where it comes in handy, and that's where it's important, is for that aspect of you. But once you do that, you don't just get to pitch away Corey LeBlanc and say, "My motherfucker, fuck him, buddy. He never did anything good." No, because anything you've done with Corey LeBlanc, under Corey LeBlanc, is still going to follow you. And like I said, if you're in this mundane world, you need that personification. You need that name to do the things in this mundane world. You can't just, and when I say mundane, I don't mean boring or whatever. Like I said yesterday, There's a reason we came here, and we came here in these bodies, and we've been evolving in these bodies over and over again. And some say we were a lot lighter before, and we've become more dense, which means at one point we were mostly spirit, and now we're mostly matter, okay? So now, and I can't tell you this for sure or not, but let's say if that was the evolution, therefore, then now we have to start going the other way. And this is how we do it. We're having this massive awakening where people are meditating more, people are doing ritual, people are bringing things into existence. People are realizing that you don't have to work your ass off to try to get ahead in life and possibly sometimes buy a lottery ticket, or if you have a hidden talent that someone wants to monetize, that's the only way to get ahead. There's only a few that get ahead. That there actually is a way to have what you want. And you can use your mind power to focus on that. But at the same time, this isn't for everybody, and it takes focus, it takes discipline. It's not for the weak of heart to do this shit. But, so, all that being said, this is how we start the transition the opposite way. We show whoever created us that, we went from the one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum, and now we're making our fucking climb back. Maybe this is the event. I said the event was the awakening, and everybody realizing that their mind creates what they want and all this. And that's what you're going to see a lot of this year, is more and more people doing this and figuring this out. And at the same end, there's going to be people on the opposite side trying to shut us down and stop us from doing this and promoting this, which is what it is. You have to have one and the other, right? The only way to get more people on board to do this is for people to be against it. But the most important thing about what I'm trying to get at is you can't shun either one, and you can't only focus on either one. You need to uplift your masculine, you need to uplift your feminine, and you need to do it in a way that, is right for your circumstances. And there's nobody that can tell you how to do that. You can follow gurus and see how they reached enlightenment and how they do their magic and all that, and that's fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, you're going to take what they tell you, what they did, and you're going to put it into your circumstances. Because what they did worked for them, but, they might have had more access to trees. They might have been able to ground all year round because they don't get snow. There might be a whole shitload of things that they were able to do that you're not able to do. And there might be a whole shitload of things that you're able to do that they can't do. That might be beneficial to you. Therefore, to just take one person's opinions on anything is not going to be accurate or good for you. That's why you got to get a multitude of opinions. That's why I believe in starting a curriculum such as Kabbalah, the great work of self-transformation, as I did, because it's an older Kabbalah book that has tremendous value and tremendous I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but sorry. But you follow that curriculum, but at the same time as you follow your curriculum and you do your business and you're doing your rituals and you're following that, well, you start looking elsewhere. You look around for other things you can do after you've done your ritual. You don't replace your ritual with trying to find different things or trying to find shortcuts, but you adopt a multitude of different spiritualities all in one so that you can have the best and most informed decision on what is good for you. And once again, what is good for you is not going to be good for everybody. But once you find something that works for you and it's been working for a while, don't be afraid to get out there and put it out there in a way that people will find it. Not putting it out in people's faces and forcing people to listen to it, but more like you put it out there and, you put the right tags or whatever, whether it's video, whether it's, advertising at home, I teach this or I give out this or whatever the case. And this way, if people want the service, they come to you kind of thing. Put it out in a way like that so that, that the people that want to find it will find it, and then you'll slowly get success from there, and then that'll reassure and keep perpetuating and making you stronger and validate what you're doing is right, because, the more people that work on the interior of themselves, work on their inner transformation, the more it's going to transform, because like I've already previously said multiple times, we are all connected in one way, shape, or form. And that's why the whole lying thing is not going to do you any good, just like the whole transformation thing is going to do you great good. And for bringing stuff into manifestation, if you want something to happen in the 3D material world, You cannot have a personification. You can't have a part of you in this world. If you get rid of your identity, get rid of whoever you are, and you're now nobody, you're just somebody who meditates, but then all of a sudden you need to pay your rent. Okay, well then you're going to try to manifest money, but who are you going to manifest that money to? And you can just write, I will be, so mote it be, and bring it in that way, and it may or may not work, but that's just, the point of that is okay, well, yeah, okay, Corey, I'm trying to get rid of my identity and myself, but obviously I'm still going to have a name, and that's where the checks are going to come into. Okay, well then therefore that is still part of you. Unless you can get rid of that, you're never going to be able to get rid of yourself completely, is kind of my point. And if you were able to get rid of that, then that means you have nothing anchoring you in this material world. And that's whenever, being someone who can work on their enlightenment all day long, it would be what's best for you. But even then, it's unbalanced. You need to have the spiritual, you need to work on your spirituality, but you also need to have these material, these three-dimensional experiences with people, because there's great beauty and love and passion and things that we feel and experience, and life is beautiful because it doesn't last forever, and because it isn't transcending all time and space. Working on spirituality is absolutely amazing, and I love it. But the birth of my daughters, and when I met my two stepboys for the first time, is a feeling that I cannot explain to anybody. The moment I knew I loved my wife is something I can't even explain in words, and that transcends all the spiritual stuff I'm doing right now. Some of it is, possibly equal to, and some of it is even greater than the spiritual stuff I do. Better than these meditations I've done and shit like that. The best drugs don't even give me the same kind of feelings I got when I realized I was in love with my wife, and when I had my children, and when my children succeed at something, and the joy I get from knowing I either taught them or how amazing and how okay they're going to be in life, and I'm doing an okay job. I get those feelings from this 3D realm, from some stuff that happens in the moment in this world that is bound by time, that people are so against. But at the same time as there's great darkness in this realm, there's also great beauty. And those small things sometimes make all the bad things just not even be around anymore. They're just gone. When you can focus on something beautiful like that. And once again, those feelings I got when I met my wife and had my kids, those are things that were in the material world, before I even knew spirituality. And to this day, thinking about those, it's phenomenal, the feelings I get. When I try to relive it in my head, I still get teared up and shit like that. My wedding, things like that, that's all in the material realm. You need both. You need both for happiness. You need both for joy. So there's no reason to get rid of your ego and your identity completely, but you do need to do some constructive criticism and figure out the aspects of the ego and your identity that you no longer need, and the ones that you need to keep and work on. And likewise, spirituality. You can't be all spiritual all the time, but there are things you need to implement in your life to have a nice, healthy balance. And I think that's about it for now.